Our project Save the
No.
City.
Um, my name is William Davis.
I'm William Zupp.
I'm Nik Gudmundsson. Initially, we started our project by researching the issue, that being personalization of teaching over through games. We found initially that there was a little bit of a disparity there wasn't too much of a disparity between scores achieved by students who learned via game-based education versus traditional education. So we looked into kind of why that was the case and found that there were a number of confounding variables, one of which was this issue of adaptability and conformability to a teacher's individual teaching style and schedule. So we initially created this idea that potentially we would make it so teachers could pick and choose which modules of our game they wanted to use and teach, and that way they could better integrate it into their own schedule. We also, because of time constraints, we moved away towards that and chose to go towards a more broad direction where each module would teach very broad ideas relating to a mix of environmental sciences and civil engineering. In the early design phase, we chose our tools, those being GameMaker Lite 2 and GitHub. We chose GameMaker Lite 2 because it had source control and GitHub was the source control. We created a rough state system for the project. You can see that a little bit on the right where we had the front screen and the shifts between the module screen and to roughly what the modules look like, and also set up the project timeline.
All right. So for the initial development, since none of us were experienced with GameMaker Lite, we had the first play around with the game logic and try to figure out how to use GameMaker Lite in the most effective way. And we developed kind of an understanding of how certain elements work. Like we tried to use the early finite state machine logic and the sprite creator. And then as we went further along in the process, we improved at the logic, and we decided to modify the game to better fit our requirements by adding more sprites, working on the score and variable systems, and improving the general logic of the game itself with the drag and drop components. And it helped us develop the game further.
So this right here is just a little GIF of how our game works. So as you see, they're going into one of the modules, and right now, which is what they're doing, module 1, you'll see in a second. And right here, they click to add a factory. And as you see, the water goes from being nice and blue to being all muddy because water is being polluted. And then afterwards, you can see that they add a water treatment center, a treatment plant, and they do that right now. And then the water goes back to being blue. Another thing you notice is when they add the factory, the population satisfaction, it goes from a smiley face to a frowny face. And when they add the water treatment plant, it goes back to a happy face again. So that's just kind of a simple way of how one of our modules work. And here would be a lot of the sprites we used in our modules. To the left, you see a sprite for a tree, the factory, and the water treatment plant, or I guess water treatment plant, and then the factory. And then on the right is our Save the City game logo. And in the middle, you can see the 6 tile blocks. Those are the tiles we used in order to make the clean river and the polluted river. So what's next for our game? The things that we could see improving in the future would be continued bug fixing, just making sure everything works accordingly, added functionalities. That could mean adding more variables to our game to add more complexity to it. More modules and additional topics, just further things for our users to be able to explore and learn. Improvements to graphics. One thing that is definitely true is none of us are graphic designers, so there could definitely be improvements on things like our graphics and our animations and effects, just making sure our transitions look better and just the game looks more aesthetically pleasing. Adaptable game features for educators. Like we said earlier, this is something we would like educators to be able to take certain aspects from our game and use that in the classroom for their learning style, teaching style.
In terms of what we do, I guess advice for freshmen next year, keep on schedule. That's the most important thing. Take time to learn what the, I guess, different software you're going to end up using. For us, it was GameMaker Lite, but that can be Fusion 360 or some other modeling software. Take the time to learn that and give yourself plenty of time to work on the project afterwards. We're excited.